Right now, weekly protest in Middleton, where some residents spend every Saturday afternoon speaking out. Also, we honor the grandsons of Thomas Jefferson, why their graves are being commemorated. Plus, we head on over to Willie Street and to an art open house, why this moment has been 9 years in the making. That's all coming up on News 3 Now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. Well, it was a little warm and muggy out today, but that's all right. Let's go ahead and get a look at your first one forecast with the meteorologist Blaze Keller. Blaze.
And it's going to continue to be warm and muggy not only overnight, but into Sunday as well. That's when we continue to sit underneath that threat for severe weather. We have an isolated threat in the green or marginal risk, and then a more scattered chance for severe weather in the yellow. That's where we find our slight risk for severe weather. And if we look at future track, we're going to have to jump ahead into the late afternoon, early evening to really see those showers and thunderstorms developing along a cold front. And that will continue to push its way south and eastward as we cross midnight hour going into early Monday. Strong winds and heavy rain is going to be the main threat, then followed by hail. And we always can't rule out an isolated weak tornado, but the environment tomorrow is not going to be as great for tornado development. However, if that were to change, we'll obviously keep you updated. Still feels like the 70s and 80s out there as temperatures are only going to dip into the low 70s across southern Wisconsin. We'll take a closer look at Sunday's severe weather threat and next week in the full forecast. All right, sounds good, Blaze. We'll see you in just a bit. A Madison Art Center is having its first open house since the building caught fire nearly a decade ago. Willie Art Center has a unique way of showing art lovers what they can buy. Our Tanisha Shaw has more.
Home is where the heart is. For Sharon Kilfoy, home is also where the art lives.
I think of the Williamson Street Art Center more as a hub of art activity.
This hub is where she lives, creates art, and where she connects with the community.
You mean you're just going to let anybody into your house? And there's a guy sitting on the back porch right now who was here last night. He came back today. He came back, I think, because this place makes him feel comfortable.
Nearly 10 years ago, a fire damaged parts of her home.
So I've learned a lot about what not to do if you want to keep your house fire safe.
On Friday and Saturday, Kilfoy hosted an art gallery for the first time since the fire. People that attended were able to purchase her art from the gallery.
It shows me the importance of that interaction with other people.
Even if people didn't walk away with a piece, connecting over art fulfills the purpose of Willie Street Art Center.
So just getting those responses, people liking the work has made me feel happy. And it's made me realize how important having this feedback really is.
The open house ends Saturday evening, but Kilfoy told me that she plans to host more open houses in the future. Reporting in Madison, Tanisha Shaw, News 3 Now.
Tanisha, thank you. The Willie Street Art Center's garden is open throughout the year. Wisconsin lawmakers on the legislature's powerful budget writing committee worked late into the night yesterday to move ahead on the state budget. A hearing that was supposed to start at 10 in the morning was pushed back 12 hours as lawmakers could not come to an agreement on the budgets for the UW system and Departments of Transportation, Health Services, and Children and Families. But the committee didn't move ahead on funding for things like tourism in the state and the agency that runs state elections.
All right, the hour of 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. haven't arrived. I'm going to call the Joint Finance Committee to order. We are here to continue our work on the state budget. We'll be taking up the following agencies: Wisconsin Elections Commission, Department of Administration. All other agencies that were noticed for today will be taken up at a later date.
We've talked an awful. I'll be brief, I promise. But we've talked an awful lot this finance session about various Republican ideas that have come to fruition and may or may not have been abandoned along the way.
Republicans are working fast to pass the budget before the June 30th deadline. If it is not passed, the passed budget will carry over. And a 69-year-old man is dead following a crash in Kenosha County. The Kenosha County Sheriff's Office reported the crash occurred just before 7 p.m. on Highway 50 and 75th Street. On the south side of the highway, the vehicle exited the road on the south side of STH 50, striking a rock before hitting a tree. The pickup truck and the sole occupant of the vehicle were ejected from the truck and pronounced dead at the scene. The crash remains under investigation. And a weekly protest in Middleton continues. Every week, a group of Middleton residents host what they are calling the Defend Democracy protest. This follows the trend we've seen nationwide since the beginning of President Trump's second term, where people are protesting against the actions of the Trump administration.
It makes me feel heartened that people are coming back week after week to know that democracy is not dead. We are not giving up. That it's not only our military that fights for our democracy, it's the people, because we are the democracy.
The Middleton Defend Democracy protest is every Saturday at the corner of University Avenue in Park Street from noon to 2. In Appleton, 2 residents are calling for justice after their pride flag was vandalized outside their home. The homeowner, Benji Rowe, reaching out to local advocates in the LGBTQ community after contacting police. Rowe says this kind of action is both shocking and heartbreaking.
It's been 23 years since I have been a target of hate-fueled violence of any kind. And it breaks my heart because I thought that as a society we had moved beyond this.
Rowe held a pride flag raising this week to stand against vandalism in Appleton. Today, the graves of the grandsons of Thomas Jefferson were honored right here in Madison. The grandsons received the Civil War veteran grave marker at the Forest Hill Cemetery to signal their contributions to our country's military and freedom. It's also an opportunity to show Madisonians the national history right here in Wisconsin.
John Wales Jefferson, in particular, of the Jefferson descendants, was the most prominent. He was the commander of the 8th Wisconsin Infantry, which had the famous eagle Old Abe as its mascot. So it's one of the most prominent units out of Wisconsin in the entire Civil War. Outstanding combat record, valor on many battlefields.
Wisconsin was founded as a state in 1848, just 13 years before the start of the Civil War. And speaking of history, tomorrow the village of Orfordville is celebrating 125 years. There will be a free open house event at Village Hall. The opening ceremony will be at 1 p.m. with a historic timeline walk displayed throughout the hall. You can sign your name, leave a message, or just simply share a memory. There will also be merchandise commemorating the anniversary for sale. And the grand opening of the Madison Museum of Art and Technology is also tomorrow. The museum is a technology-driven digital art museum. Tomorrow's event will be at Roundhouse Studios from noon to 5 p.m. And there will be roughly 50 artists from around the world. That also includes animated art like wearing 3D glasses to see 3D art and adding a dancing silhouette to the art. Coming up next on News 3 Now at 10, Blaze returns with a complete look of your first run forecast. Plus, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues as more reports of deaths continue to roll in. And continuing our coverage of the, quote, passage of the Big Beautiful Bill, what lawmakers are saying.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Thank you for staying with us. Now to the Gaza Strip, where the health ministry says Israeli strikes have killed at least 80 people and wounded more than 400 in just the last 24 hours. This, as President Trump claims a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas could come as soon as next week. CBS's Deborah Pata reports from Jerusalem.
U.S. officials confirmed several Air Force B-2 bombers departed for the U.S. base in Guam as President Trump weighs joining Israel's actions to destroy Iran's nuclear sites. The bomber is the only in the U.S. arsenal capable of carrying the 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. President Trump says he's giving Iran a maximum of 2 weeks to see if diplomacy can prevail.
Just a time to see whether or not people come to their senses.
But there's a rift over intelligence about Iran's nuclear capability. The president on Friday appearing at odds with his director of national intelligence.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
In March, Gabbard testified to Congress that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, but added its enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons. On Friday, Gabbard claimed the media took her testimony from March out of context.
Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
The alleged gunman in the Minnesota lawmaker shootings appeared in federal court on Friday. Vance Belter is accused of killing Minnesota's former Speaker of the House and her spouse and seriously injuring another state lawmaker and his wife. Belter's attorney requested a delay in proceedings, saying her client's sleep deprivation due to jail conditions have made it difficult to communicate with him. Prosecutors did not object, and preliminary hearings and detention for the hearing was pushed back to July 3rd. Belter was arrested last Monday following the largest manhunt in Minnesota state history. He now faces state and federal charges including murder, firearm offenses, and stalking. If found guilty, he could face the death penalty. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of keeping a long-standing government program that lowers the cost for internet and phone services in poor communities. This 6-3 decision rejected a claim from a conservative group who said Congress violated separation of powers principles when it created this initiative. Justice Elena Kagan wrote in the opinion. Justices Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, and Clarence Thomas dissented in the issue. Both the Biden and Trump administrations backed the Federal Communication Commission's effort to boost access to high-speed internet through fees paid by U.S. consumers. To Capitol Hill now. Tonight, the Senate is putting in extra hours to kickstart President Trump's legislative agenda. Overnight, Republicans released their full bill containing tax and spending cuts that could impact millions of Americans. In post tonight, Elon Musk said it will destroy U.S. jobs and cause strategic harm. CBS's Nicole Killian joins us with the very latest.
A rare Saturday session in the Senate.
We have before us today a once-in-a-generation opportunity to deliver legislation to create a safer, stronger, and more prosperous America.
Senate Republicans are trying to pull a fast one on the American people.
Lawmakers work through their holiday recess, racing to meet a July 4th deadline to advance President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill. The president stayed in town, too, golfing with senators, urging them to tee it up.
Taking longer, but we'd like to get it done.
Overnight, Senate Republicans released the 900-plus page bill, which includes more funding for the president's top priorities, including border security, defense, and an extension of his 2017 tax cuts. But it comes with deep spending cuts to food assistance and Medicaid, including a projected $930 billion reduction, according to the Congressional Budget Office.
What they're trying to do to cut back on these health care programs and health insurance for 16 million Americans to pay for tax breaks for wealthy people.
Even some Republicans have threatened to oppose the package, citing concerns about the potential impact to rural hospitals. But others say it's time to act.
Are we ready to put our pens down and move forward?
To address some GOP concerns, the bill now includes a $25 billion rural hospital fund. It also rolls back clean energy tax credits from the Biden era, angering Democrats. In fact, they're hoping to slow this vote down by demanding that the entire bill be read on the Senate floor, which could take up to 15 hours. Nicole Killian, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Let's get a look at your first warn forecast with the meteorologist Blaze Keller. Blaze.
We're going to look for an isolated shower or thunderstorm this evening, but they're pretty slow moving across parts of Minnesota. But if they get their act together, we may see some of that impact us as we go over the midnight hour through the early morning on Sunday. Then we dry out Sunday because we're going to become hot and humid once again. And then to end Sunday going into Monday, we could be dealing with another round of showers and thunderstorms, and some of those could be severe. So let's first take a look at what we can expect on Sunday. Back into those upper 80s to low 90s. Winds are going to be out of the southwest, so that's going to just help bump our temperatures up just that little bit more compared to where we were today. And we could start to see those showers and thunderstorms develop across northwestern parts of our forecast area as we go into the late afternoon, early evening hours. Now, tonight, we find that marginal risk for severe weather across parts of Vernon County, La Crosse, Monroe, Juneau, and Adams County up there into the Green Lake, Washara, and Marquette County area. But when we talk about a marginal risk, it's maybe 1 or 2 severe thunderstorms, usually short-lived, isolated. So let's take Future Track into the overnight hours into early Sunday. Again, there's a chance. It really just depends on if these storms out of Minnesota can get their act together and move into Wisconsin as we go overnight. If not, we may go overnight into Sunday on the quiet side. Southwesterly winds already in the morning mean that we are set to warm, as I mentioned and as you saw, into those upper 80s to low 90s. And then Sunday evening is when we see that chance for yet again another round of showers and thunderstorms, some of which could once again be severe. In the green, that's our marginal risk, and in the yellow, that's a slight risk, a scattered chance for severe thunderstorms there, and the more isolated chance further south and east. Let's jump Future Track to about 8 o'clock tomorrow because, again, I think we're going to be too hot, but also not hot enough for those showers and thunderstorms to develop. I have a whole Beyond the Barometer about it. It's our latest one. It's kind of confusing when you say it out loud, but I have a little explanation in the article. Simply put, we might not be hot enough, even though we will be hot on Sunday. And then once temperatures start to cool a little bit, that's what we could see along the cold front, those showers and thunderstorms developing. Again, it's going to be further north and west, and then they're going to push their way south and eastward. Along that cold front, strong winds and hail are going to be our greatest threats as outlined here, along with heavy rain. Not necessarily are we expecting a lot of rain out of these showers and thunderstorms, but we could see isolated 1 to maybe 1.5 inches falling over places that over the last 5 or 6 days have an estimated 6 to 8 inches of water already fallen on top of them. So we don't need any more rain in areas that continue to be hit by these showers and thunderstorms. A lot of that rain could really be used across southeastern Wisconsin, but it doesn't look like, at least for now, those rain chances are going to be moving on in that area as we go overnight into Monday. There is a look at your Sunday forecast. As I mentioned, upper 80s to low 90s, southwesterly winds are going to keep us hot and humid, but the northwesterly winds take over Sunday night, and that means we're back into the low to mid 80s all throughout next week, except for the 4th of July. At least for now, once again, because we will be hot and humid, we could hold off on those shower and thunderstorm chances until the evening, overnight, and continuing into that following Saturday. But it continues to trend like we're going to be dry through most of the day on the 4th of July.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier, minus, a couple of the rain spots. Next week looks pretty good, if you ask me.
Yeah, it was originally looking a little bit more on the wetter side, and it just continues to dry out.
Yeah, just as long as we don't get too much rain on the 4th of July.
I'm literally watching that and no other day because I know people are going to be planning around that day.
Me too. All right, well, sounds good. Thank you, Blaze. Andrew, what do we have coming up?
Well, a perfect thing for the 4th of July is baseball, and it's a baseball story how one Madisonian made history with his hometown team. We'll tell you next on News 3 Now. It took a little longer than expected, but when Wisconsin men's hockey's Logan Hensler was selected in the first round of the NHL draft last night, he was more elated than when he lights the lamp. The defenseman was taken with the 23rd pick by the Ottawa Senators, becoming the 19th Badger, that's right, just the 19th Badger ever to be drafted in the first round. And now that he's had some time to process that, it's safe to say that Hensler is happy.
When I heard my name, my heart was basically beating out of my chest, and it was an emotion I've definitely never felt before, and I was super excited, and just being by my family meant a lot. My parents made so much sacrifices for me, and just that the role model for my younger brothers was huge, and just thankful they're here, and a bunch of emotions, and super excited.
But Hensler wasn't the only Madison connection taken in the first round of the NHL draft. How about this? Riker Lee, who played for the Madison Capitals last season, was selected just a few picks later with the 26th overall selection by the Nashville Predators. He scored 31 goals in 58 games with the Madcaps. And the NHL draft rolled on today, where some future Badgers heard their name called. Brent Sullivan was selected in the 4th round by the Detroit Red Wings. Meanwhile, in the 6th round, Bruno Idzan was selected by the same team that Logan Hensler was taken by, the Ottawa Senators. Bruno is an incoming Badger freshman. It was family day down at AmFam Field, and Joey Ortiz does not have any kids, so he and his wife brought their dog to the ballpark, which is fitting because lately he has been just that, a dog. A 2-run homer from him put this one away, and the pitching was nearly perfect for the Brewers. Quinn Priester issued 7 scoreless innings, allowing just 1 hit, striking out 11 Rockies as the Crew win it and improve to 11 games over 500. 5-0, the final. To Mequon we go, where Liam Moreno crowned himself Mr. Mallard. In his 5th season with the same team that he grew up watching, he now watches himself become the Madison Mallards' all-time hits leader. Congratulations goes to Liam. And we finish here. John Tonje was just the 2nd Badger selected in the NBA draft in the last 10 years. But during his biggest moment, oh no, Jalen, you can't do this. You can't be that friend that knocks over the TV. And I didn't even know that kind of friend exists. Now, you appreciate the love. You appreciate the support. You appreciate them being there. You don't appreciate them knocking over the TV when your face comes on and you're selected in the moment that you've waited your entire life for.
Yeah, I mean, no different than our job. I would have been cognizant that there were cameras around, but I would have had some words once everything cut. But congrats to John and everybody else that's been drafted the past couple of weeks.
What a couple weeks it's been.
Absolutely. All right. Real quick, Andrew, before we get to weather, what do you make of this run the Brewers have been on the past few weeks?
Yeah, it's been pretty phenomenal. Even if you look back to a month ago, they have either the best or the 2nd best record in all of baseball. They've been terrific, and this is the same team that about a month ago we were talking about, wondering, could this be the year that they don't figure it out? And it's safe to say that they've figured it out and then some. Against a bad Rockies team, albeit this week, but this month they've been fantastic. 11 games over 500 is nothing to laugh at.
And I mean, the pitching, obviously, we got the rookie revelation in the Miz.
Yes.
But it seems like the bats have gotten pretty hot, too.
They sure has. Again, the same team that was getting shut out 4 games in a row is now scoring a ton of runs, giving their pitching enough to work with. And all things are kind of working out under Pat Murphy, who in his 2nd year is once again doing terrific things.
Absolutely. And speaking of getting hot, it seems like tomorrow's going to be a repeat of today.
And even hotter. Upper 80s to low 90s. We'll watch as some showers and thunderstorms develop by the late afternoon, early evening, continue overnight into Monday. Some of those storms may be severe with strong winds and hail and heavy rain as the main threats.
Sounds good. Seinfeld is up next, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.